Sussex took control of their LV County Championship match with Somerset at the Probies County Ground as the match reached its halfway stage. Replying to Sussex's 221, Somerset resumed their first innings on 30 for 1, and they made sturdy, if unspectacular, progress in the opening overs, with Marcus Trescothick scoring the necessary runs to pass the figure of 20,000 in the first-class game. His partner at the crease, Chris Jones, has some way to go to match that number. This pair advanced the total along to 68 in the first 10 overs of the morning, but then Trescothick on 31 was trapped in front by Steve McGoffin. Racing down the hill at Hove, the tall Australian then had Jones caught by Michael Yardy in his next over, before James Hildreth fell in the next, turning Monty Panesar to Matt Pryor at mid-wicket to depart for a single at 71 for 4. That brought Peter Trigo to the crease, and he immediately looked in fine form as he attacked McGoffin, striking him for 4 boundaries in a row as he looked to set a comeback in motion straight away. Somerset have been in a habit of losing their wickets in clusters in recent weeks. But Trigo's innings turned out to be nothing more than a cameo. After blasting his way to 20, he hooked at James Anyon, but sent the ball to Chris Nash in the deep. And soon afterwards, Somerset collapsed again. After losing Steve Snell for 8, Lewis Hatchett earned only his second wicket of the championship season by having Alfonso Thomas taken at slip. Abdurrahman then took on Panesar, but skewed his drive to Murray Goodwin at backward point. Then, after lunch, Hatchett bowled a rather puzzled-looking Saj Mahmood. And in a flash the innings was over as Alex Barrow edged Hatchett behind. From 68 for 1 and 122 for 5, Somerset had been humbled for 134 to trail on first innings by 87 runs. Somerset then needed a quick response with the ball, but Ed Joyce was dropped early on off Steve Kirby. Luckily for the visitors, that didn't prove costly, as next ball the Sussex skipper was taken by Trigo off a combination of the bat and the body. Joyce was out for 7. But by the time he was out, the lead had already passed 100, and now Nash and Luke Wells looked to bat their visitors out of this game. While the championship seems to have gone, will almost certainly be wrapped up by Warwickshire on Thursday, Sussex was still fighting hard. Wells was out for 20, which brought Goodwin into bat for the last time at Hove, in Sussex colours at least. He's been an astonishing player for Sussex in 12 years, but he's yet to give notice as to whether he will now be retiring from the game or looking for a new county. He obviously wanted to finish on a high note here. He and Nash for a short while looked as if they were in a hurry, with the boundaries coming thick and fast from the bat of both. Sussex have had a superb second half to the season, especially at home, and the runners-up finish would represent a fine season for them. Nash was doing all he could to ensure that will happen. His 9th 4, his second in 1 over off Mahmood, carried him to his 50, which had been made off 71 deliveries. When Nash is batting like this, there aren't many better players to watch, and he started to move through the numbers with ease in the gorgeous late summer sunshine. After so many days have been ruined by the weather this season, it must have been a delight for the batsmen to suddenly find themselves out in the middle with plenty of the warm stuff on their backs. Nash was certainly enjoying himself as the day drew to a close. As indeed was Goodwin. After a poor season for the county, it was perhaps inevitable that a man of such talents would choose this moment to prosper. This single took him to a 50 for the 157th time in his career, 67 of which he's converted to 100. Here it was Nash who reached 3 figures before stumps were drawn. It was a peach of an innings which had occupied 157 deliveries in 3.5 hours at the crease, that being the 17th 4 he's hit. And he was still there at the close on 106, with Goodwin on 50, and the total now on 186 for 2. That gives Sussex a lead of 273 runs overall, and they should be able to bat themselves out of sight from here on day 3.